You know that feeling when you snag a cheap webcam for a virtual conference, only to discover the image looks grainy, the focus drifts, and the mic picks up every rustle in the room. I've seen that happen to a lot of creators who think any camera will do until they are mid-presentation and the picture freezes on a blurry head. The regret of spending a few bucks on a low-end device that can't keep up with changing light or a moving speaker is real, and it makes you wonder whether a more expensive piece of gear is actually a smarter buy. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That's why I spent the last week testing the Hollyland Astra P1, a Optical Zoom webcam that promises 4K60 video, AI auto tracking, and a 30x optical zoom. I wanted to see if the hype translates into something you can actually rely on for live streams, online classes, or remote presentations, and whether it avoids the usual pitfalls of cheaper alternatives. My first impression was that the device feels more like a small broadcast camera than a typical plug-and-play webcam, which immediately raised the question: is it worth the extra cost, or is it just a fancy gimmick? Let's start with the core use case most people have for a webcam like this: speaking to an audience while moving around a room. The Astra P1's AI auto-tracking is built around human detection, meaning it can lock onto a presenter and follow them as they walk from a podium to a whiteboard. In a test where I paced back and forth between two predefined zones, the camera smoothly adjusted its pan and tilt without any noticeable lag. The transition was clean enough that the audience never saw a sudden jump or a blank frame. For teachers doing hybrid lessons, that kind of hands-free tracking can free you from the constant need to stay centered in front of a static lens. Low light performance is another common pain point. Many budget webcams struggle when the ambient light drops below 200 lux, resulting in washed-out colors or noisy shadows. The Astra P1 advertises cinema clarity and a face-detect exposure system that aims to keep the subject well lit even as the lighting shifts. I set up a dimly lit home office with a single desk lamp and a background window that let in a bit of natural light. As I moved from the lamplit desk to the window side, the camera automatically brightened the face area while keeping the background from blowing out. The result was a consistently clear image, though it did introduce a slight softening of the edges when the light difference was extreme. It's not perfect, but it's a noticeable upgrade over the grainy mess you get from a $30 USB cam. The 30x optical zoom is a feature you don't see on most webcams. In practice, it's most useful when you need to capture details from a distance without sacrificing image quality. Think of a presenter who wants to zoom into a whiteboard from across the room. I tried zooming from a wide shot of the whole classroom down to a close-up of a single line of text on the board. The optical zoom preserved the crispness of the lettering, and the AI tracking kept my face in frame as I stepped back to give the audience a broader view. The trade-off is that you need to be mindful of the framing. The zoom motor can be a bit noisy if you constantly swing between extremes, which could be distracting in a quiet environment. Stabilization is handled in software, smoothing out small shakes when you move the camera manually. For most sit-down streams, you won't notice any jitter. However, if you plan to move the camera quickly, say, running a live product demo that involves walking around a studio, the stabilization can sometimes lag a fraction behind, creating a brief mismatch between motion and the image. It's not a deal-breaker for typical presenter workflows, but it's something to keep in mind if you expect fast pans. Battery confidence is a practical concern for any portable camera. The Astra P1 runs off an internal rechargeable pack that the manufacturer says will last a full day of typical use. In my tests, a 4-hour continuous stream at 4K60 drained about 30% of the battery, leaving plenty of headroom for longer sessions. The camera also supports simultaneous output via HDMI, USB-C, and SDI, which means you can plug into a capture card or stream directly to a computer without relying on the battery if you're in a fixed location. That flexibility is a strong point for creators who switch between on-the-go and studio setups. Now, who should actually consider buying the Astra P1? If you're a freelance educator, a corporate trainer, or a small-scale content creator who regularly moves around a room while speaking, the auto-tracking and zoom capabilities can save you a lot of post-production hassle. The AI tracking also reduces the need for a second person to operate the camera, which is a cost saver for solo productions. Additionally, if you work in venues where lighting isn't ideal, conference halls, community centers, or even a home office with mixed lighting, the face detect exposure system